have the press conference here. And I want to thank the mayor standing with me, Brian McIntyre, our county attorney, our DPS captain for this area, and all you for being here to share our message to our community and share some transparency when it comes to what's going on in Cochise County. Over last, I'm going to talk 18 months here, what we've been dealing with, what we've been addressing, and how we've been doing here locally. I'm impressed in the fact, I say this before, I've said it in other conferences, is the fact that we have a very special county. We got mayors, we have police chiefs, we have county attorney, DPS, sheriff's office, our border patrol agents, local here, that do an incredible job for the citizens here in Cochise County. I'm so impressed with them and how they stand up. Our emergency service coordinator, Dan Deshawn over there, he didn't want to be on camera, I respect, okay? But the reality is we're all standing united to make this a better place and take our oath of office to sustain that quality of life that people expect. Now, this is my 39th year. Over 39 years, I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of this border. Right now, I'm seeing the ugly of it, no doubt about it. Over the last 18 months, I want to go through just a couple things with you. We've had 2,362 border-related offenses booked in our jail. 2,362. We keep these stats because we get reimbursed to the state of Arizona for border-related crimes. That Temple, Operation Temple, just in the jail, pushed back into patrol and onto the law enforcement in this community, runs about 40 to 44% of all operations is now border-related. To put that in perspective, usually we run about 5 to 10%. As you all know that's reported in this area, we deal with gotaways, the fight and flight, those that don't want to give up from us. Those 2,362, 344 included fair to yield, which is our pursuits. Another 409 were under the new law for smuggling, were arrested for Class 2 felonies. 100, and people always say, well, this is all the migrants that came across the border illegally. Let me just clarify that. The 2,362, only 136 were foreign-born or illegally in this country. What that tells me, and it should tell you, is the fact that the people coming to Cochise County are coming down from all over the United States, ages 13 to 72, to commit international crime in Cochise County. That's impacted every community. That's why your mayors are here. That's why Ann English, our Board of Supervisor members, here. That's why DPS is here. That's why your sheriff's office is here. It's cost us over $6 million in 18 months. And thanks to Governor Hobbs, Department of Military Affairs, DEMA, our partners at DPS, they're helping us. Last year in 2022, we had over 600 victims of felony crimes in Cochise County, border-related. Over 600. Actually, 601 to be exact, if you're looking at exact numbers. I give these numbers to share with you because I think it's important you understand the concept of what we've been dealing with. Those who don't know, when it comes to the public safety, and that's what we're all about here, community safety, public safety, it's quality of life, like every community works for. Last year in Arizona, 2022, per HIDA stats, 68 million fentanyl pills were seized in Arizona last year. Out of that, 35 million were seized in the 4 border counties. 35 million fentanyl pills, which means probably about 90% got away. It's destroying this country, our families, our schools. A huge concern for everybody that wears a badge and everybody that's in community leadership like we all are. Over the last 18 months, we seized 40 weapons. We had over 100 juvenile smugglers that we addressed, not just from Cochise County. Most of them are not. They're from the outside the walls of Cochise County, and a lot of them outside the walls of Arizona. In fact, last night, on our interdiction, my interdiction team stopped the vehicle, driver out of Colorado. 4 migrants still had their camouflage on, just came out of the brush in the back seat. And stuffed under the front passenger footwell was a 12-year-old. And this 12-year-old was not related to anybody. Folks, that's called human trafficking. That's what we stand united on when it comes to what we stand up here for, is the public safety threat, the humanitarian threat of people that are, let's just call it what it is, modern-day slavery on our southern border. People being exploited by the criminal cartel. And we work so well in combating that. Has it been a challenge? Yes, it has. Over last week, we've had deaths, both dying and exposure in our desert, car crashes, failure to yield rescues, sadly recoveries by my search and rescue team. And as we speak to you, we're dealing on a violent threat where a person was kidnapped and violently beaten by the cartels. And we found him in our county today, or yesterday, the last 24 hours. What I'm sharing with you is this, it's not a good situation on this border. Folks, you can talk politics, you can bring politics all you want, but what I'm telling you right now, the people standing here are united. We made the call yesterday, Mayor McCall, myself, and the police chiefs, DPS, Brian McIntyre. None of us said, Sheriff, let's talk politics. None of us said, let's do this for political reasons. We did it because we're servants of our citizens and we want to change. Yesterday we found out that they're going to do street releases in Cochise County. A county that's considered rural by nature, doesn't have the resources to address this. And I say this, I'm going to say it to the media today, the ones truly stepping up and helping these migrants are the people sitting here today and the teams within ours, our respective teams. It's sad that you're going to release migrants in a community that doesn't have the basic essentials. And nobody's going to argue. We believe in legal processes. Every one of us do. But when you expedite a process and you leave them at the Safeway in Bisbee, on the streets of Douglas, and they navigate their way through Cochise County trying to find those basic essentials of life. And what's even more disturbing to all of us here as leaders is to know that they didn't even cross the border in Cochise County. They crossed the border in other parts of the Tucson sector and maybe beyond, and then they're bussed into Cochise County, expedited processing, and let loose here. I talked to Governor Hobbs and her team last night for quite some time. DEMA, Department of Military Affairs, DPS Colonel for some time this morning. Everybody standing with me today. I talked to Border Patrol Sector Chief John Modlin, our local leadership, and so I'm not remiss to say this. I can't say enough about our Border Patrol agents out there. Their morale is in the dirt, folks. Their morale is in the dirt. These agents wear that badge with pride, not just in Cochise, but beyond. And what a slap to what's going on to what they do every day. And I spoke to many of them yesterday. I invited Border Patrol today to come speak at this because this is about sharing the community, what's going on, what's the end game, and where are we going? What's the navigation map? I got a call an hour ago. They weren't allowed to come. If you print anything today, print that. Damn it, we all serve the same people. They should be here talking to you, just like we are. I'm so disappointed to hear that they could not come. And like I told them, I will address that. They should stand in front of you just like we are. I've been beat up in the last 24 hours on these street releases like everybody here. But we're here today facing you and going to face the public. We're going to come out with a unified statement from all of us. We'll all sign it. This is where we stand. Nothing's going to change in Cochise County for us. I want the citizens in Cochise County to know we'll continue our innovative efforts, our proactive efforts, our unified front. Those who violate the law, citizen or not, will be held accountable. Our job is to keep the community safe, and we're going to continue to do that. I've talked to U.S. Senators Kelly and Sinema, and as they said, Sinema's team, Senator Kelly and we talked on the phone, and as they stated they're working together, they're doubling down to stop this. And it's not just Cochise County. It's Casa Grande, Nogales, San Diego, other places are in the same position we are. The difference is we're rural. We don't have the resources. That is inhumane in itself, as stated. We're going to continue our Safe Street programs. We're going to continue discouraging those that want to come to Cochise County, thanks to our county attorney and his limited resources over there too. They do an amazing job keeping the citizens safe and prosecuting those that need to be prosecuted. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Brian McIntyre, our county attorney, for his comments. Brian.
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. Yet again, our small border county is at the center stage of a much larger countrywide issue. While the continuous failure of the federal government to take meaningful action on immigration is not our fault, once again becomes our problem, and it's on our doorstep. That being said, it's of critical importance that we direct our energy not towards other individuals who are no more to blame than we are for the federal government's failures, but rather towards the federal government. I have seen, unfortunately, the reaction online to the newest changes in policy. They include threatening statements and, in general, an attitude of disgust for people who are simply pawns in a process. As the 14th Amendment to our Constitution makes completely clear, no state may deprive a person, any person, of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the law. Note that the word person is used, not citizen. The individuals being released into our communities are lawfully present in our community based on a decision by the federal government. While we may not agree with that decision, the blame for that does not belong with these human beings. As law enforcement leaders, we will continue to stand united to protect our communities and hold those who violate state law accountable for their actions, regardless of their citizenship. Our priority is community safety, which includes protection for all people present in our community. This county is full of amazing community members who love and support each other in good times and bad. And I implore the members of this community to band together. Together we will get through this without harm coming to any person during the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Brian. My name is Cleo McCaw. I'm the mayor of Sierra Vista. And I just wanted to say that we stand with Sheriff Daniels on this particular fact. Sheriff Daniels, the Cochise County Sheriff's Department, Sierra Vista Police Department, we're here to do what you need us to do, sir. We were elected as our coalition of mayors here. We were elected to protect life, liberty, and property. And that's what we're going to do. I want to say to the citizens of Sierra Vista that we have your back. If you see anything, say something. Our police chief, Chief Heiser, is here. We're here for you. City Council is here for you. And we're going to do everything we can to support our sheriff. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Donald Hewish. I'm the mayor of Douglas. As you all know, we sit right on the border. And so we have a unique position here. Unfortunately, we're also a community that has no resources at all to be able to house any of these people. But I'm extremely grateful for our citizens that have stepped forward, our churches, our nonprofits that have stepped forward to temporarily provide shelter and food, water facilities to these migrants that are coming through our communities until they can find a way to their final destination. We applaud Casas Alitas in Tucson, along with Pima County, for transporting these people up there so that they can reach their final destinations. The citizens of this county, especially the citizens that I'm most familiar with in Douglas, have an open heart and they're very kind. But there's limits to that kindness. And I would encourage all of us to take a deep breath and realize that you're not alone in this situation, that you have all these people up here that are here because this is an important issue for our county. So please stand with us. Please pray for us as we continue to maintain a semblance of order that we have to date and pray for a solution to this situation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Ann English and on the Board of Supervisors, and I represent the district that has both the ports of Naco and Douglas. And as soon as the Title 42 was even thought that it was going away, all of the border counties got together and looked to see what resources we had in order to be able to work with this coming problem. And I would be remiss if I did not give a lot of power and prestige and thankfulness to Pima County for stepping up, because they knew that Cochise County had neither the resources nor the people or the expertise to take care of this coming problem. And so we have depended on on Pima County, and we are still depending on Pima County to pick up those people who are legally in our country, that are looking for asylum and looking for a way to make a better life, but not to be here. So I guess I want to echo the fact that I don't see this as you should be afraid of them. The point of it is these people are here legally, and we need to, if you have a contact with the federal government, they need to keep paying to keep these people moving, because they're the ones that make the laws that allow them to be here and have the right to be here. So thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Johan Wallace. I'm the mayor of Wichita City, the town you actually came through to get here to the Border Operations Center. So to kind of echo what the sheriff has said, so I lived in Cochise County for over 40 years, and this is the worst that I've ever seen the immigration problem. I remember growing up as a kid and actually giving water to migrants who were coming across just trying to find a better life and make a better life for themselves. What it comes down to is, you know, there are laws that we have to enforce, and we have, I think, the most top-notch law enforcement of all the counties, of all the state, between Cochise County, Sierra Vista, Wilcox, Wichita City, the whole nine. My biggest concern is and you know, it's already been expressed, when these individuals are coming over, when they're being released into our communities, they're being released from outside. You know, we have been given very minimal assurance that the individuals being released are okay to be released. We're still trying to flush all that information out, because the information is very slow coming to us from the federal government. So just last week on Saturday, there was a high-speed chase through town that ended in my community. They bailed out at the school. Fortunately, it was a weekend and the school is not in session, but there have been situations where there have been bailouts while school is in session, and these migrants are jumping the fences into school grounds. So again, you know, sheriff, his team, all the law enforcement, all these mayors, we all have a common goal. We want to protect our residents. And we really need the federal government to step up, to set something into play, so that we are not feeling the burden and our residents are not feeling the burden. My message to Wichita City and everybody else out there: if you see something, say something. Call your police department. Let them know what's going on. Let them handle it, because we don't want any of our residents to end up in jail for taking the law into their own hands. So please make sure you call your law enforcement. That's all I have. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Chris Heiser, Chief of Sierra Vista Police Department. And now, City of Sierra Vista is not an official release site for any of these street releases. The closest release site is within reasonable walking distance to our community. So we are going to closely monitor its impacts on our community. This does have me concerned about yet another strain on local resources. But nevertheless, we are going to remain vigilant at safeguarding our community and protecting everyone that lives within our jurisdiction. So I encourage anyone from the Sierra Vista area, if you see anything suspicious, to call us and we will respond. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joe Conrad. I'm the mayor of Benson. Oftentimes, Benson isn't viewed as a border community. We're about 60 miles inland from the border. But Cochise County is a border county, and we're all involved in this. So I just want to make a statement that we stand behind Sheriff Daniels. Our police chief is looking out for our safety over in Benson. I want to encourage everyone, again, we'll say it over and over again, if you see something, say something. But get on the email, get on the phone, get a hold of our elected representatives in Washington. These are the people that need to hear from everybody. It can't just be us 5 or 7 mayors reaching out to these elected representatives. So everybody, I encourage you, contact your senators, contact your congressmen, let them know what's going on down here in Cochise County. We need all the help we can get. We don't have the resources to combat this on our own. So again, reach out, talk to the people that can get something done, and let's get this moving. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Ken Budge. I'm the mayor of the city of Bisbee, the other real true border town along with Douglas, and one of the release sites. I want to make a clarification here. There's 2 items that are going on. There are people bringing over by cartels that are doing illegal and putting a lot of strain on our police force. And then there are the people that are giving themselves up and are coming in with papers and are immigrants.
Those immigrants are being brought from outside of Bisbee. They're not crossing over here. Somehow, the Border Patrol has the ability, and this is what I don't understand, the ability to transport these people as far away as Yuma to our local NACO station where they are processed and then released into our city. If they have transportation all the way from Yuma, they should be able to transport them also up to where they can get better care than what we as such a small city can provide. Now, I've been in contact with both House representatives and senators. I've got texts in my pocket about, oh, well, DPS is only releasing these at a transportation hub. Well, I'm sorry, but my Safeway is not a transportation hub. It is a bus stop for my little local bus. So there is some real misconnect that's going on between the federal government and us, and I agree with everything that's been said here, but I would, again, encourage, oh, I talked my hands. I would encourage people to reach out and let their representatives know that there's a disconnect and that a mandate that says you have to release them as soon as you process them, wherever that may be, is just not going to work in Cochise County and into our small cities. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mayor Laws of Wilcox. I take a little different perspective on this in the fact that you have, I call children out here, smuggling people through our county, and their lives are over when they do this. If you could get a word out to families of these young people to stop, all they see is that dollar, like $1,000 a person, I'm understanding they can get, and these families are over. If they're in mom and dad's car, they take it. If they'll go to jail, they suffer hardships of tremendous amounts of money to defend themselves, thinking that they're going to do this one-stop deal and make a lot of money. It's not happening. Law enforcement is too strong here. Needs to be stronger. I support it totally. I brought my own chief here today. Wilcox is one of the safest cities that you can come to today, and there's a reason for that. I put all my efforts 7 years ago when I was elected to law enforcement, and I've always been behind the sheriff. He knows that. I believe if you make your community safe, then people will come here and want to stay here. So that's what we're after. But if I could say anything to these parents out here, get a hold of your kids and stop this smuggling that's going on. It's happening every day. Every day. I get calls every day. And it's a sad part of the thing that's happening in our community. And like the sheriff said, these people are coming out of Colorado. They're coming out of Texas, wherever. And along with Benson, we've got to deal with I-10. We're right on Interstate 10. You know, a lot of these inner cities are not, but we are. So they're hitting these roads and doing high-speed chases out of here to get away. And of course, like I said, our law enforcement, starting with the sheriff's office and my local police chief and all of your local police chiefs around here, they're very good at what they do. They're taking all the right training. They're protecting you. And don't ever forget that. If you come to us, we're going to protect you. And thank you.
Good afternoon. Just to echo what the other chiefs said, mayors have said, vigilante won't be tolerated. These gentlemen, or these people are being processed, they're being street released legally to go forth and try to find a better life. If you see something, say something. Be a good witness. If you have the ability and a crime is being committed upon you and you have the ability to retreat, I implore you, retreat. Let your local law enforcement handle it. Remember, we're all one community. Several communities within the county, but one county. We stand united to protect you. And remember, this is a public safety issue. It's not a political issue. Thank you.
Thank you, chiefs, mayors, Brian, Ms. English. Anybody else in the council? Anybody want to say anything? Anything else? Last comments? Yeah, I echo everything said, and I'll I've been saying this for about a year and a half. I'm going to leave it with you all today before we do questions and answers for any of the members standing up here, especially those who don't speak. Ask them a question. But I'll say this to you. This is what I've been saying about the federal government. I'm going to leave it with you again today. Intellectual avoidance and abandonment with intended consequences is what we're addressing down here. We can't get them to engage out of Washington, D.C. And that includes all the way to the president, all the way to Congress. They have to engage. They have to prioritize this problem. They have to collectively share that problem with us because we're dealing with it. And then let's work together on it to solve it. That's the recipe of success. And you have to enforce the rule of law. That's how you've heard many of the chiefs say that today. You've heard mayors say that today. Brian McIntyre, myself, is we got to live by the rule of law. That's what makes this country great. Any questions for anybody on this panel? Okay.
Of course, I went from News 4 Tucson. A source of mine within your own office tells me that this coordinated effort between these FEMA-supported buses and CBP at these street release drop-off sites isn't happening as it was intended to. Some cases, the migrants, they tell me, are waiting there for a long time, and in some cases, they just wander off in the neighborhood, leave, and don't wait for that bus. Is that true? Is that happening?
We still, Governor Hobbs' office told me last night that they're committed to bringing buses down here to ensure that they have rides. Sadly, what's happened is a decision was made by Border Patrol leadership to release them once they're processed. You heard that being stated earlier today. So they're released without a bus. They wander. They're not required to stay there legally, and they're off. Our logistical efforts at Cochise County by the Board of Supervisors and Administration, Dan Deshawn over here, Emergency Service Coordinator, told me, he goes, if you want to talk to him afterwards, he's willing to talk to you about that. But he actually coordinates that effort. He didn't say that, but I'm telling him that. So I don't know if there's an integrity issue, but I'm teasing Dan there. But we've had that system. It's worked well. But these immediate releases was a surprise to all of us yesterday when it came to that. And so now the street releases. And what I'm being told, it's not going to get better. And that's why we're doing the press conference now.
And you mentioned all these mostly young folks, U.S. citizens, that are being drawn out here with the promise of money to carry out these illegal acts. I know obviously a lot of this is probably done online, but what, if anything, are you guys doing to try and meet that at the source and prevent that from making its way down here?
Well, we've been very loud on that. Brian McIntyre, the county attorney, and pretty much everybody standing up here when it comes to social media and the relationship they have with our young people, our teenagers, and our 20-year-olds, where that's where they spend a lot of their time. We've gone after the social media. I've asked our former Attorney General, I've asked our current Attorney General, I've asked former Governor and our current Governor to include Senator Sinema, Senator Kelly, our state. Let's go after social media. We've got to change that because as long as they can recruit young people and all people to come to the border to commit international crime, they will. We have to stop that vehicle, and we're going to continue being loud on that. Thank you for the question on that, okay? Ma'am?
I know that these migrants are given resources too when they're dropped off. How long are they given these resources if they're housing and food in Cochise County and beyond?
Ma'am, let me just disclaim that. In fact, they get no resources. When they're dropped with what they have. I asked this morning a specific question to Border Patrol, do they get money? No. So they come across the border because the cartels take their money because they have to pay a fee to come across. This is not just walk across the border. They're getting smuggled through the cartels. When they're left alone there, the cartels re-engage them, a concern we have, again, another huge concern we have. So they have no essentials to go out and buy food, no essentials to go out and buy water. They're left there relying on all of us standing here to find those methods.
Well, then how long do you house them in the hotel?
Here locally, we don't.
Well, they were taken from Douglas Welcome Center to a church, correct?
I'll yield to the mayor on that if he has a
How long
question.
did they stay in that church?
Yeah, we're set up just out of the kindness of the community with no resources at all to give them a meal and a place to rest until the bus shows up. And so that's the extent of it. And if the buses don't come, we're not sure what we're going to do with them because we're not set up at all to handle families, both sexes. We're not set up for that. So it's just a temporary until the bus can show up. This morning, 2 buses were on their way, 1 broke down. So that, again, limits our abilities to be able to do that. We're appreciative of that, but again, there's no resources, and this is only out of the goodness of private citizens within our community that they're receiving this nourishment and a place to stay for the bus to get there.
Where's the bus from?
To Pima County, Tucson, Arizona.
Okay.
So far, since this started yesterday, we have over 100 that have been released in our community that so far they're being picked up. We haven't had the need to house anybody overnight, which would be extremely painful to us, again, because we're not set up, and it's just the volunteers that are coming forth to be able to handle that. So if we're doing in excess, and this is just through 145 this afternoon, that we've already been over 100. And it was surprising, as the sheriff mentioned to all of us, that Border Patrol is saying that they're no longer legally able to house them. And their actions don't show that. As other people have mentioned, they come from Yuma, they come to here. And so obviously they have some means to be able to handle that. And I think what we're all asking is just for the federal government to step up. It's their issue. They've left it in our laps, and it sure would be nice if they would step up and make something happen to protect Cochise County.
Those figures you gave, were those just in Douglas, or does that include Bisbee?
That's just Douglas.
And was that, where were they dropped off?
Some at the beginning were dropped off at our visitor center, and then we were able to shift them directly to one of our local churches there in
What's
town.
the visitor center? Just the visitor center?
Just
for
the
Douglas?
community visitor center, which we have a couple of open restrooms. And so, again, the Catholic Church in town have stepped up, and so that's where they're being taken now.
And today is the first time that happened in Douglas.
Yes.
Can you tell us numbers on the people that were involved in the street releases in the rest of Cochise County?
As Bisbee yesterday was 41. Mayor, you might have a number for today?
I've just got the first one they released at 12:30, 16, and at 101 South Naco Highway. Just the big parking lot. There's nothing there. And only church we have that could stand up is a 6-mile walk or 4-mile walk around a very dangerous open pit to get there. 101 South Naco Highway.
No,
Oh,
the total number.
16, I'm sorry.
60,
Just,
60
just,
yesterday?
just this morning, just now. There was 40 yesterday.
16. 41 yesterday,
Yeah.
16 today.
Sorry.
And then there were people released in Casa Grande as well, is that right?
There are releases going on beyond Cochise County. Casa Grande, I don't know their numbers. I have them. I didn't bring them today. San Diego, I heard a number, and don't quote me on the number, it was 500 in San Diego. I mean, bottom line is this, folks, and let me just share this with you. Maybe I wasn't clear when I did my opening, was when you divert your enforcement agents off the border and they're assigned to processing. You all just drove down here, those that didn't live here. You drove by the checkpoint that's closed. Go drive by the border. If you want, hit me on this thought. We've lost our partners because they're administrative processing. I've seen the infrastructure here at CBP continue just to fracture. And you open up the border for the cartels to run their fentanyl through, their drugs through, their criminals through, the aggravated people that should never touch U.S. soil. That's what's happening. And the agents are frustrated with that too. They're very frustrated with that.
Do you have any idea why they're dropping them off in Cochise County instead of taking them to Casa Luces? Because Casa Luces told me that they haven't turned anyone away.
Ma'am, it's two things, two reasons, and I was on the call with this yesterday. Two reasons. One, they're over capacity. They can't take no more. They are fractured in the capacity side of it. Number two, that's why they expedite it. Number two is, based on that, they need more agents to help expedite the processing. So they're coming into my county and grabbing my enforcement agents, and I call them that because they're our partners, and they remove them from that pool, and now they're doing processing. So my point to you is this. This is a lose-lose for everybody involved. It's truly a lose-lose. We have to manage this. And you've heard the statements out of Washington, D.C., that the board is effectively managed. I don't think you're hearing that today from Cochise County.
I guess I just still don't understand that they're bringing them here from outside of the county. Why not just take them to Casa Luces?
Nobody was asked that question here, I can promise you. When I mean that, nobody asked us about that. Anybody want to comment?
I just want to say one thing that I didn't mention I would like to, and that is the language barrier. Now, when they're dropped off near our border, if they're Spanish-speaking, we have a lot of Spanish-speaking people that can work, but this is not. These are people from India, this is people from Africa, these are people from all over, and in fact, in some cases, more so than the Spanish speakers. If they're from Mexico, they are returned. They are not allowed back in. So understand there is a huge, huge language problem that we face when you can't communicate and help them. So that's
Well-
one more thing that makes this criminally, not for them, but what they're doing to them, in my opinion.
Can I ask you a question while you're on the podium?
Sorry.
It was just an observation I had yesterday, and maybe this is a question that can be answered by anyone here. I noticed when the migrants were being dropped off yesterday at the busy Safeway parking lot, just like 10 minutes later, a school bus route is right there in that parking lot too, and then dropped off people as well. Why that Safeway parking lot? Because it just seemed like a couple-minute overlap from like kids being dropped off to the migrants being dropped off.
That's an exact, I won't tell you which one of the congressmen or senators said, he said, this is ridiculous. It is where they decide to do it. It is where the Border Patrol decides to drop them. We have no control over that.
Other questions? Let me get Alexis.
So you said that the release came yesterday from BP, but was there any sign of this influx coming our way here in Cochise County?
That's a good question. The answer is yes to that. We've been talking for the last couple of weeks, if not longer, that this might happen, where they have to go to street releases because they saw the uptick. Again, for the last 18 months and beyond, we keep just seeing this uptick. We might get a pause, then we see an uptick. We haven't seen this. And so we've been talking about it. I know a lot of people in this room have been talking to Border Patrol locally here. Have I got a call outside of Border Patrol sector? No. No, I have not. So whatever we hear is through our local leadership here. And then yesterday, in fact, the text I got yesterday was, oh, just to let you know, we just released. So they had already released. I think we all get the same text. So it already happened. And nobody has asked, said, Sheriff, where do you think we should put them at? I'm sure they didn't ask the mayors in question here either, or the leaders in this room. So, Terry?
Sure. When this all kind of became public yesterday, the comment was about Benson, and I'm wondering from Mayor Conrad or Chief Baker, did anyone get talked in Benson yesterday? Yeah, I heard about that.
Thanks, Terry. No, not that I'm aware of. We haven't seen an influx at this point, but as Mayor Laws alluded to earlier, Benson sits at the convergence of 3 major trafficking routes, so it's just a matter of time.
There also have buses in Benson, a railroad in Benson, and Interstate 10, which they might call that a transportation hub.
That's going to become a transportation hub, exactly.
You know, I don't know what BP is.
Allie?
We were covering the releases in Douglas when Pima County was regularly coming down. There was some question on if they were going to be able to come. There was some talk of street releases then, but it never happened. Now we're talking Pima County is still coming down. Where's the miss in the coordination there? Is there not enough? Are they not able to come down as frequent? Like, why are they dropping the ball like that in Pima County right now if they've been able to work with you guys?
I'm going to have our speechless emergency service coordinator answer that one as a logistical guy. There you go, Dan. Dan Deshawn,
You
everybody.
couldn't get away from it.
Sorry, Dan.
Sorry.
Hi, Daniel Deshawn, Director of Emergency Management for Cochise County. So to answer that question, the street releases, and again, I hate to get into the semantics of the terms here, they began for about 10 days, right, early May with the Title 42 issue. And then come June 22nd, they started again and have not stopped. However, since then, Border Patrol has been able to hold the people, the migrants, until the buses come. The buses from Pima County are regularly scheduled. They've been running up to 6 buses a day through Cochise County every day since June 22nd. I don't have the official numbers. They don't release that. I only coordinate the buses with Pima County. And then it was yesterday where they said due to capacity, Border Patrol said due to capacity, they can no longer hold. So now their releases are when they have a van full, for lack of a better term, and then they release. So it's out of sync.
And is it kind of arbitrary then, as well with the timing, where we used to know, okay, at 7 a.m. and at 3 p.m. we're going to see these releases, now it's happening all peppered out throughout the day? What I'm understanding?
Yes, it's been every 2-3 hours for anywhere from 10 to 20. And that out of sync release now creates a need for some type of respite there where, I was at Bisbee last night, and it breaks my heart when you see children as young as 3 and 4 being released, and they have to sit, under the overhang in rain. And if I may share, we do have a church that opened their doors in Douglas, and I'm immensely thankful for Mayor Hewish as well for serving as a community leader to get that going. But on the emergency management side, I'm in immediate need of some type of NGO or faith-based community in the city of Bisbee to open their doors and help these people because they're out in the heat, they're out in the rain, just outside the Safeway waiting for these buses. And I would also like to say a couple thank yous to Pima County Emergency Management for organizing the buses, and also State Department of Emergency Management as well. So I'm sure Grady or Carol, the PIOs, can get my contact information. But we're in desperate need. I can't have children sitting in the Safeway parking lot at 4 and 5 years old. It breaks my heart. Thank you, Sheriff.
I asked about the funding yesterday on these Pima County funding out of Health and Human Services. They were allocated so much money, and that's going very quickly. Let me just say that. And when that money runs out, I don't know what's going to happen. So everything we're doing here is setting the stage for what we're going to try to do.
I was wondering if you could just clarify something that Dan said about the buses. I'm just not understanding. So the Border Patrol street releases them, and then they're waiting for buses that are going to take them somewhere else. What are the buses?
The buses are contract buses through nonprofits called non-government organizations. The federal government gives them money to run the buses and the logistical aspects to take care of them until they get their final destination.
So the buses are coming from Casalitas that they're waiting for at the treatment?
The buses are contracted. Dan, you want to say anything clearer than I'm saying on that? Yeah.
Like, I'm aware of all the NGOs that are helping migrants in the area, so I was just wondering where the buses actually take them.
So the buses, they go to Casalitas Welcome Center, but there's a handful of other nonprofits and faith-based organizations that have opened their doors all the way up to Phoenix and Mesa. I don't know the names. But the buses are from Pima County, their contract that have accepted that grant, and also state emergency management.
Okay, so in other words, a lot of the people that are getting street release are making their way to Casalitas. They just have to wait at the Safeway instead of
Yes.
the Border Patrol cars.
The buses are still running. They just, Border Patrol won't hold them, so they're stuck wherever they're released.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Somebody?
Sure. Do you have any confidence that these people being released have been criminally vetted or, background checked in any way? What's going on that end?
That's the million-dollar question. They're expedited when it comes to the processing because of the overcapacity. I asked that question yesterday. I was told that they're expedited. It's a quick process, and they're out. So what that means, I don't know. That's a concern for citizens, a concern for everybody in this room, and concern for us as community leaders. But again, as the county attorney said, they're legally here by that paperwork. They missed it. Bottom line, that's why we continue to do what we do. Good question.
Lastly for me, how much money do you feel the county needs to address this issue?
Well, I don't know how you put a price tag on that, but when you look at the enforcement aspect of this, which is what I take an oath for, when you look at the incarceration aspect of this, it's costing us a lot of money. And I say us, I'm talking about the cities, the county, and the state that's in partnership with us. Otherwise, we'd be in trouble if we didn't have the state of Arizona here. That's not including the outreach, the logistical, and humanitarian costs that we're talking that's being shared through Pima County. And again, my hat's off to them for what they're doing to help us here. The more resources we can put down here, the better we can address it. There's no doubt about it. That's in any problem. But the bottom line is, right now, we're just trying to get ahead of it. We're ahead of it. Sir?
Just to clarify, so the only drop-off points in Cochise County are Bisbee and Douglas right now, or are there any other points where people are being dropped off?
Guys, just the two spots, right?
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I know the two spots are different locations, but there are two spots in those areas because they're closest to the border, so it's municipalities. Any other questions as we close out here today?
Do you expect those drop-offs to continue?
Oh, yes. Yep.
And then I had a question on something you said in your intro when you said that there was in the county over 600 victims of border-related crimes. Can you say what some of those crimes are, how those people have been victimized?
Ma'am, everything from murder to kidnapping to drugs, stolen vehicles. So anytime a smuggler comes from Colorado, Michigan, Illinois, where they're coming from, and they come here, and then we apprehend them, they're in a stolen car. That's border-related crime for us. They bring drugs here, because that's a lot of them do. That's a border-related crime. It's got to be the nexus to the border, or it's not considered a stat for us. And we.
600 in what period of time?
And the victims, going back to the victims are the ones that, if you take a 7-year-old, we had a 7-year-old stuffed in the back of a car. The 16-year-old driver was going over 100 miles an hour at 9 o'clock at night without the headlights on. She becomes a victim for us. And then we charge him for the crime. So again, those are all different forms of it. And the county attorney might be able to answer that better than I can, Brian. The victims of crimes that you're seeing on the border. So you want to answer that?
I mean, when we talk about border crisis, when we talk about migrants, these things, the thing that gets left out is how many of them are being victimized. Victimized even just to be able to cross, because they don't have the money to pay up front, so they're essentially agreeing to be indentured servants once they get into our country. As the sheriff said, it is modern-day slavery. That's what's happening here. We've had, yes, victims of violent assaults, multiple homicides. I believe our number in the last 2 years is 11 UDA homicides. Most of those, all of those are the result of fatal traffic accidents. But we've also had victims within our local community of serious aggravated assaults, again, first-degree murder because of a felony flight that turned into a fatal accident. And so the problem for us has just expanded. And then in the meantime, our office continues to deal with all of the other normal things that happen in a community, unfortunately.
So did that 600 number count migrants, if you mentioned migrants?
You bet.
Yes.
Well? Okay.
Yeah.
And what was that time period?
That was,
600
March.
in the last year?
March 1st to December 31st, 2022.
we look about 8 months now. 8 months of last year. Any other questions? Thank you, Brian. Thank you, folks. We want to thank you all for sharing our message, sharing our story, and we're going to go back in the room, do a couple things, but if you got any quick interviews, they'll be here for just a sec. Thank you, everyone.
That's one of